What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chuds BBQ. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how I made this. Beautiful, delicious, barky, smoky, tender, juicy, amazing charcoal briquette snake method brisket. Coming up. This is a brisket. Patted dry. And what I got here is a USDA prime brisket. Picked it up at the local grocery store, weighing in right around 14.5 pounds, which is pretty good because I definitely don't want to be cooking a gigantic brisket today. And that's because today we're going to try to cook this brisket on the all-new Chud grill in my quest to put that thing through all of its paces. And I'm not even sure if a brisket will fit on that pit, but luckily we can address that during the trim, which is the next step. And you've seen me trim briskets plenty of times, so we're going to just kind of speed through this. But first things first, we're going to take off this big chunk of fat on the backside. Scoop that right on out of there. Don't need that. And then we'll start cleaning up this backside a little bit just to make it look a little bit nicer. Shave down these pointy edges a little bit and just make sure everything's nice and aerodynamic, which I suppose isn't nearly as important the way we're cooking it today because there's not as much convection running through a grill as there is on an offset smoker, but it's good practice and good habit. And there we go, backside looking nice and clean. Flip it over, make sure everything's laying nice and flat. And I'll take out this big chunk of fat on the front. Shave down this point just a little bit. Get rid of this fat. A lot of fat, don't need it, because we want some fat, but not too much fat. And now we can start tackling this fat cap on the top here. Again, aiming for about 1/4 inch. But so far, this is a pretty nice looking brisket, you know? Good shape to it. Again, not too gigantic, which is kind of hard to find, to be honest with you. There's a lot of 20-pounders out there. And this brisket was, I think, $4.29 a pound, so this is like a $60 brisket. Honestly, not too bad. But let me know in the comments down below what y'all are paying for brisket where you are, because I know you can't even find briskets in a lot of states. Chud scrape, looking pretty good, although I'm not really liking this point. Sometimes you get this big extra muscle on the back and it's kind of floppy, and that really does tend to dry out, but we'll address that in a little bit here, because for now, it's time to give this thing some shape, because it is pretty long, and I'm thinking the grates are about that long, so we're gonna do a pretty aggressive swoop on this, just to give this thing some nice shape. How's that fat level? Looking pretty good. You could probably take it down a little bit more. Let's take a look at this from the underside here. Yeah, there's a lot of loose meat back here. Don't like that. So I think we're gonna have to take this down a little bit, which I don't like doing. Kind of a lopsided brisket at this point is just kind of hanging over. Don't love that, but we take what we can get, folks. And there we go, all trimmed up, looking nice, got a decent shape to it. Again, that point end's a little wonky. Upset about that, but you know, all of our best slices are gonna come from this side anyway, so it'll have to do. And just by eyeballing it, I think it's gonna fit on the pit. I guess we'll find out in a minute, because we gotta get this thing seasoned up. For our rub today, we're gonna go on with some good old-fashioned Chuds BBQ SPG, my preferred rub for briskets. And we're just gonna go with a nice heavy coating. Very pepper heavy rub, so it's really good for getting a good bark. Flip it over. No binders today, folks. And of course, we're not going to forget the sides, because that would be a rookie move. Just a nice, healthy application. Pretty much as will stick, usually works out to be the perfect salinity. But I am a fan of adding a little extra flavor to these briskets, which is why I came out with Chuds BBQ Secret Salt. Honestly, what I'll do sometimes is just do a dusting on the bottom, really let it penetrate into the meat side, and it also makes your brisket not orange, so you can kind of trick people a little bit, because it's a secret. But just a light little dusting of this is going to add a little extra pop of salt and flavor. I'm sure you guys are well aware of seasoning salt on brisket, but I'm going to do the top as well, just because I got it. And I do really love this combination. And because the secret salt is made with kosher salt, it makes it a lot easier to eyeball it without over seasoning it, you know, with Lowry's or something like that, because it's such a fine particle. You can add too much pretty easily, but just a nice little orange hue for our brisket today. And that's looking pretty much perfect to me. So I'm gonna let this sit here for the next 10 minutes or so while we get the pit fired up. And that salt is gonna start drawing out moisture and kind of make our own binder to make sure all this rub sticks. But I think it's time to fire up the pit. And just like that, I got all these briquettes lined up in a row, because today we're gonna do something I haven't done in a very long time, and that is the snake method, which I'm sure you're familiar with if you're a backyard barbecuer, but basically you light one end of that long snake of charcoal briquettes, and the theory is that it'll just burn like a fuse really slowly the whole time, giving us some nice low consistent temperatures without having to do anything. But I've never done it on this grill. I think I've only done it like once or twice on the Weber Kettle, but it does work very well, and it does feel good to be using briquettes again. I've been on Team Lump for the last like 5 years, but Fogo sent me that bag of briquettes so I'm eager to try it out for some low and slow barbecue. But as you can see, we got 2 rows stacked 2 briquettes tall, which I'm thinking should be good. Give us a good couple hours at least of consistent fire, and hopefully it doesn't get too hot, but we can always kind of choke down the vents if we have to. I might throw my super high-tech little blocking log situation in here as well, just to act as a little bit of a heat baffle and make sure the whole thing doesn't tip over. But theoretically, I'm just gonna light it on this side and we should see what kind of temps we're getting. All right, moment of truth. Will the brisket fit? Oh, perfect. Wow, that fit a lot better than I was expecting. It's even like the perfect shape. Very convenient. I got it situated this way because there's a lot more fat on this side of the brisket, which will be closest to the fire. So if anything gets too toasty, at least we got a layer of fat to protect it, but that's looking pretty good to me. And if we look at the door here, we got the first layer of charcoal ashed up. Let me make sure that's still lit. It's smoking, so I'm gonna shut this door down. I might leave this on the first notch just to help that get a little extra airflow. I got the vent on the side here open. We'll start out full bore, give it lots of air, make sure it gets started nicely, but I'm gonna just shut this down and give it probably 20, 30 and see what kind of temps we're rocking. Pop this vent open on the top, giving us some nice indirect airflow. So air comes in this side, hits the coals, and then the smoke rolls over the brisket and out the top. We should be good to go. We're about 20 minutes into this cook, and it finally got up to temp. We're rocking right at 250 degrees, which is a really good place to be starting. And honestly, I thought it wasn't gonna get there because it was really creeping up slow. But once the first couple layers caught, temps went up, and everything's looking good. But of course, we're smoking a brisket, not just cooking a brisket. So I went to the wood pile, grabbed the log, threw it on the old chop saw for some nice little chunks of post oak here. And we're gonna just, we're just gonna set these in to burn away and smolder. Hopefully that other one will catch by the time it gets there, and that should give us a nice amount of smoke. So really now we're just gonna shut it down and see how long we can last with one snake of charcoal briquettes. And just like that, we got some nice clean smoke coming out of there, holding right at 250. I assume as more briquettes catch, it'll probably get a little hotter in temp, in which case I can adjust the dampers on either side to kind of dial that into the 250, 275 range, but I'll keep you posted. We're about 3 hours into this cook, and I gotta say, it's been incredibly easy so far. I literally haven't done anything. I did shut the top vent down just a wee bit, as well as the air intake on the side here, just to make sure it doesn't get too hot, but no spikes or dips or anything. And if you look at the 2 thermometers, they're actually holding very even, which is kind of odd because I figured this one would be a lot hotter, seeing how the fire is right there, but good to know that this thing holds even consistent temperatures. The only problem I'm having is that it's holding a little bit too hot. It's settled right in at 300 degrees, which is a little bit hotter than I'd like to be, especially on a smaller cooker like this, but we are in direct sunlight and it's still really hot here in Texas. We're rocking a solid 106 today. Gotta love that, but let's take a look at this bad boy. Oh yeah, good looking bark. Still got a lot of fuel left too, so we can get away with a long time on that snake method. Wood is smoking away. Decent bark development, good color on there, so pretty happy about that. This back corner is looking a little bit toasty, but I think we're just gonna kind of power forward and just see how long we get out of this remaining snake. So I'm gonna shut it down. Might pitch some more logs in there in a little bit if the smoke stops coming out. But really, it's been a super pleasant day. Just watching the smoke pour out of this thing. Not much to do now except wait. So I'll let you know when that charcoal runs out. All right, y'all, we're about 6 hours into this cook and we just dipped below 250 degrees, meaning it's time to add some more fuel. But honestly, I'm pretty impressed. That snake lasted for 6 hours. That's pretty cool. But at this point, this thing has shrunk up a whole bunch. We're rocking right around 170-ish, 175 internal. So I think I'm gonna just start chipping some more charcoal in here, not do a whole nother snake like I originally intended, because I didn't expect it to last this long, to be honest with you. And we also cooked a little hotter and faster than I expected. So we're gonna start throwing some more briquettes on here just to keep this fire going for another probably hour or so, and then we're gonna wrap it up. And my main problem with briquettes is that I'm a big fan of the leaf blower method to help get things started, but briquettes just produce so much ash. So I'm gonna try and not get this whole brisket covered in briquette ash while I get this next fire started, but it's glowing pretty well, so I'm gonna let this get back up to around 275, and we're gonna keep on rocking until this thing hits 180 degrees internal. All right, we're about 9 hours into this cook, and this brisket is looking absolutely beautiful. Rocking right around 180 degrees internal, so off it comes and time to wrap. That is very hot. Going for it anyway. Ow! But bark is looking good, feeling nice and tender. That fat cap is definitely rendered very nicely. I mean, look at that. It looks like a brisket, right? But of course, we're gonna wrap it up with the good old-fashioned trusty foil boat. beautiful. And that boat is going to protect the edges while letting all the rendered juices kind of tenderize the bottom, which is especially important on a grill like this. And it should speed up the cooking time, make sure the bottom is braising nicely, and get this thing finished off until we're reaching right around 200 degrees internal. So, should only be like an hour or so. And when I'm putting this back on the pit, I'm gonna flip it the opposite direction it's been the whole time, because this side's been getting pretty hammered being that close to the fire, so we'll let this side take the brunt. But we've got the foil to kind of protect it, but just make sure we get some even cooking. So we'll check back in on this in probably an hour or so. And just like that, 11 hours into this cook, this brisket is rocking a solid 203 to 205 internal temp and feeling nice and tender, soft, squishy all over. So off this thing comes to rest. Ow. And after a nice long rest down, this thing is rocking about 150 internal temp. So now it's time to pop it into the food warmer to rest overnight. And of course, by food warmer, I mean my toaster oven rocking 155 degrees for the next probably 10, 12 hours, or whenever I feel like carving into this thing tomorrow morning. So I will see y'all in the daylight. After a very long heated overnight rest, I think it's time to see how this brisket came out, because it smells good, it looks good, and it's probably the easiest brisket cook of my life, you know? I feel like it's gonna be a really short and or boring video because I literally did nothing. Once I trimmed it and seasoned it up, I threw it on the pit and I didn't have to touch it for like 6 hours. But it's nice to know you can kind of set it and forget it. And as much as I like that aspect of the set it and forget it with the charcoal briquettes, the amount of ash that is sitting in that grill right now is just ridiculous. But if this tastes half as good as it looks, then it's probably a method I'm gonna have to keep around. It's also interesting with these tiny briskets on a small cooker, you really get to see how much shrinkage is involved with a brisket cook. Because when this thing went on, it was filling up the entire grate, but by the end, last night, there's plenty of room around it. Ooh, feeling good, nice and tender on the bottom, decent jiggle factor. Oops, oh no. Not too many juices in there. I might have punctured the foil. But bark is looking good, bottom's feeling tender, and it's so cute. Gotta love a tiny brisket. Crunchy bark. Oh, how are we looking? That looks pretty good to me. Bottom's not nearly as hammered as I was worried about it being, you know, especially on those thick grates, holding in a lot of heat, but looking juicy. Got a good little smoke ring on there. Lean, looking very nice. Oops. Let's get a couple slices, shall we? Ooh, that bark is extra crunchy. Some more juicy lean shots for you. But all in all, it's a good looking brisket, you know? Nice and tender. Decent fat render on there. Looking nice, nice. Let's take the tip off, shall we? Just the tip. That part's always pretty hammered, but looks decent. But we're all here for the fatty brisket, folks. Start out with some adorable little mini burn ends. Oh yeah, looks pretty good. Juicy, crunchy, smoky. Loving the crust on that. Gotta love some burn ends. Perfect little bite right there. Little barbecue morsel. Looking pretty good. A little more white fat than I'd like to see on top, but all in all, pretty good looking piece of brisket. Here's that muscle that I didn't quite take all the way down on the backside. You can see how it's just like not the same texture as this, meaning I probably could have rounded that off even more, but sometimes you get wonky briskets. But all in all, it's looking good. It's smelling good, nice and tender. That looks pretty good. But really all that matters is how it tastes. One more beauty shot before we dive in, folks. Looking pretty good. I'm ready. Where to start? Where to start? You know I gotta start with one of these beautiful little burn ends. That's real good. It's smoky, it's barky, it's perfectly seasoned. I'm loving that secret salt on there. And honestly, it doesn't have as much of that like smoldering wood flavor that you get from wood chunks a lot. Pretty clean smoke flavor on it too. But shall we go for the fatty? Just gonna go for it. That fat is so creamy. That's a good slice of fatty brisket right there, you know? Like I said, that fat is super creamy on top. It's definitely one of the crustier barks I've made, which is interesting because I figured you'd get more convection on the offset, which would crisp it up more, but maybe because it's such a smaller cooker, all that heat sitting at the top of the grill is just closer than on something like this. But I don't know. That one did have a little bit more of an acrid smoke flavor to it, but nothing too offensive, you know? Ah, that's a good brisket right there. You know, I get a lot of questions from people asking, like, do I really need to get an offset if I can produce a brisket like this on a charcoal grill? And the answer is no, you definitely don't need to have an offset to make a good brisket. But will that grill become my new brisket cooker? Definitely not, you know. Is this brisket better than something that would come off of this bad boy? No. I mean, it's close though. It's close enough. If I didn't have a giant offset, I'd be more than happy cooking briskets like this on the charcoal grill. But it is lacking just a little bit of that just classic Texas barbecue oak smoke flavor that you can really only get when you're burning whole logs in the offset. But again, we're talking like 5 points. Like this is like a 95, you know what I mean? And I say it all the time, you know, you can make a good brisket in pretty much anything. Like I've done them on the Chud box, in the pellet grill, on different offsets, on kettles, all sorts of things. And if you get the trim right, the seasoning right, and it renders fat, and you get a good bark, and all those things, you're already like 85, 90% of the way there. And the only difference between the cookers is the smoke flavor. But I suppose when you're using really simple rubs and relying on that smoke flavor, it might be more important to some than others. But all in all, I'm super happy with this brisket. It was a really easy cook. It took way less fuel than if I was gonna fire this bad boy up. And I'm glad to know that the new stainless steel charcoal grill can rock some low and slow temps for, what, 9, 10 hours or however long it was on last night. It does make me think though, like if I knew that you could cook a brisket like this on a charcoal grill like that or a kettle or something 10 years ago, then I may not have taught myself how to weld in order to have a giant offset like this. Because that's a good looking slice of fatty brisket right there. But the reason I love the offset is it's a much more fun cook, you know? It's kind of the whole destination versus the journey thing we talk about. Whereas this one definitely takes more babysitting, but I mean, that cook was almost boring yesterday. But luckily, as long as you end up with a good brisket, I'm a happy guy. All in all though, I'm super impressed that snake method worked that well. I was a little concerned because that pit really isn't built for a snake method. On the kettles, it's nice and round. You can get a lot bigger of a snake in there. But honestly, I thought the whole thing was just gonna go up. But pretty cool that that works. Definitely a trick I'll be keeping around. But before I dive into the rest of this brisket off camera, I think it's time for the official taste test. All right, y'all, and that is it. That is how to make an absolutely fantastic brisket on the all-new Chud's charcoal grill using the charcoal briquette snake method. All in all, I'm pretty pumped with how this cook went and how that brisket came out. But the real question is, will I do this again? And the answer is probably yeah. You know, just knowing the fact that I can put on a brisket and not have to look at it or touch it or do anything for several hours, it's pretty awesome. Because on this bad boy, I got to throw a log on every 30, 45 minutes. So really the only other cooker that I could do that is the pellet grill. But I'd much rather cook with charcoal and wood than the pellet grill. But that's just me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And I'm also just happy to know that a brisket can actually fit on that grill, because I was pretty skeptical until I actually threw it on. But all that being said, if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that subscribe button. Let YouTube know by dropping a like on this video. If you give this recipe a try for yourself, be sure to tag me on Instagram at Chuds BBQ. I'd love to see what y'all are cooking. Big shout out to all the Patreon members. Thank you for supporting Team Chud and allowing me to keep making all these videos. And until the next time I see you, please go cook something outside. Peace.